Mistmare. We are all surrounded by the fog of war, Colonel West started to write as he was meditating upon dust as the sentient offspring of the Middle East. There is no evidence as to whether it was the fog or the battlefield that came first, he continued. From a wargasmic angle, the fog of war blocks all visions and engineers a type of vision associated with blindness. The original manifestation of the fog of war is air. It is the source of vision as well as blindness for war machines. Colonel West discovered that every war machine is born blind, and only through the fog of war can it see. Seeing only other war machines moving, copulating, and finally being devoured by war. Without the fog of war, there is no activity on a tactical level, and no strategy beyond the level of tactics. It was the pre-Socratic philosopher of the 6th century BC, Anaximenes of Miletus, who for the first time rigorously modified, or more accurately, philosophically distorted air into what has commonly become known as air, or that which makes vision possible. Anaximenes belonged to the cosmogonic tradition of unification, which assumed the cosmos to be one giant process of distillation or unification toward quintessence. Consequently, his remarks on air tend to be integrated with his other cosmogonic doctrines into one philosophical body which takes all cosmic processes to be mechanisms of unification. This compulsion towards unity manifests itself in a perfectionist cycle of union, separation, union, separation, union. Such a unificatory cycle is depicted as a spiral, moving toward the refined essence of a substance, a fifth element which pervades all things, all compositions and syntheses of the known four elements. The alchemical apparatus, kerotakis, or reflux condenser, is a model of this cycle whose objective is to distill all cosmic processes into one unified body, which is cyclically infinite yet functionally restrictive. Everything must be unified. Such an environment or sphere functions as a cyclic or spherical shape with an inner limit and an outer boundlessness. This cyclical spiral, whose unificatory process configures both the infinity and the order of the cosmos, was an influential cosmogonic figure which inspired Plato and Aristotle. The discursive logical methods they developed emerged from this cosmogonic tradition. In fact, Platonic consolidation and Aristotelian contemplation are the apexes of this cosmogonic tradition's tendencies towards a restrictive inner order and a refining dynamism, which together form the transcendental dynamism. Theophrastus, as the academic slave of Greek philosophy, resurrected the concepts of cosmogonic tradition and grounded them within Aristotelian philosophy, ensuring that the history of philosophy would become the feeding ground of the cosmogonic tradition of compulsory unification. The philosophic reinvention of air as air by Anaximenes was influenced by Anaximander's innovative cosmogonic theories concerning apeiron, ordering boundlessness, boundary, perata, essence, unification, and especially the thesis concerning a procreationist process known as apokrisis, also ekrisis, or regulating separation. Apokrisis is a process that distributes elements economically according to their mutual relationships and economical affordability to their environment and each other. How open can they be to each other without transgressing their own essence? In apokrisis, the separation of one entity from another always reflects the extent to which it can afford to unify with that entity in each stage or condition of existence. The failure to afford results in the act of separation and deferment of unification. Apokrisis stratifies the universe into properly arranged layers, which make unification as a dynamic process possible. The separation process of apokrisis is thus a prerequisite for the cosmic union-separation machinery of the ultimate unification. The final union functionally presupposes a series of separations and unifications leading to a purely distilled unity, corresponding to the classic mechanism of distillation. Anaximenes, however, developed the process of apokrisis into two processes of rarefaction and condensation, corresponding to separation and union, both necessary for regulating and transforming air to air. This transformation, to a manifestation of refinement and a higher state of development, namely air, indicates that the original air must be a mixture, more on the side of impurity than the Platonic mikton, which is a holistic aggregate. Air, as impurity, then, must be associated with the gathering of diverse particles, whose collectivity cannot be reduced to a wholeness. Such impurity is a non-homogeneous suspension of crystals, droplets, and vapor, among other particles. Once each particle, or cluster of particles, maintains a distinct behavior toward light, clarity degenerates to distortion and darkness. Air, as a manifest refinement, is a vision machine through which the world looks safe, that is to say, already consolidated, having been forced to take the path of unification and purity. Through air, everything attains a moderated clarity and normality. Air does not make vision possible, but artificializes a vision based on organization and consolidation. It generates a vision, illusion, of cosmic security, an appropriating machine providing anthropomorphians with an artificial safety. Air engenders an artificial trust. The vision it presents is a consolidated vision, clear and purified in a unificatory sense. Such a vision has already been processed and distilled. It has presupposed unity from the beginning to the end. Prior to Anaximenes, however, air was not an elucidating machine, air, but a blinding machine, a benighted air, described in Greek texts as something wet and dark. See, for example, Aristotle's Materiologica for an account of such characterization. Air meant fog and darkness, not darkness as in tenebrae, from Sanskrit origin, tamas, the darkness of shadow, or the darkness that belongs to the underworld, the realm of death, but darkness as in the Greek omikle, the darkness of fog, mist, dust clouds, the Mistmare. While tenebrae belongs to death, air and omikle belong to war, the fog of war. Real-time strategy video games have successfully presented the functions and diagrams of the fog of war. During the Trojan War, the battlefield was darkened by air. Ajax prayed to Zeus for lifting air off the battlefield. Zeus eventually removed the air, fog of war, to allow the enemies to fight in the clarity of air, light, which makes victory and defeat visible or possible in a conflict. Air's orgasmic clarity is given in the form of a radical blindness through which war machines hunt each other with a frantic passion and are eventually hunted down by war itself. While air is a orgasmic vision machine, it also works as a cooling system for war machines, giving war machines the unique opportunity to get hotter, to become further immersed in war by participating with each other in the absence of goal-oriented conflicts. Air, or fog of war, attracts war machines to war itself. It erases all vision maintained by the eye. War machines do not see with eyes, as they have no eyes. They see, detect, and sense with their movements, their exclusive dynamism and tactics customized not by their lines of command, but by the fog of war, the air, reads Colonel West's triumphant conclusion. All tactical probe-heads are contaminated by the fog. They gradually adapt to a radical blindness, necessary to grasp war as an autonomous machine. One should not miss the fact that the fog of war is also agitated and contagiously spread by war machines' frenzy, their dynamism, and their tactical lines. As they kick up dust during their activities, war machines contribute to the fog of war, and consequently to their own blindness. Disciples of war are the occultists of the air, the Mistmare. The denser the fog, the more violent the war machines, Colonel West scrawled in his sun-bleached notebook. Michael Crichton's Eaters of the Dead and John McTiernan's movie The 13th Warrior, based on the diaries of Ahmad ibn Fazlan, or Fadlan, and the tale of Beowulf, draw a line between rabid war machines and the unlife of war through the Mistmare, or the fog of war. The fog belongs to Odin, Woden, and the god of the darkest recesses of war. In both the book and the movie, fog, or air, is an outsider. The frenzied Wendels are accompanied and aided by the fog. The Wendels must be, in fact, the legendary Berserkers, bear warriors, and Ulfhednars, wolf warriors who inspired the strange stories of lycanthropy throughout Europe. The true and most enthusiastic initiates of the Nordic god, Odin, Woden, and war. Dumézil writes in Les Dieux des Germains that in the ideology and practice of the Germans, war invaded everything, colored everything. So too the air, the fog of war. Whenever war pervades everything, things can only come to existence through the fog of war. The intriguing connection in Crichton's book and McTiernan's movie is that between the sorceress mother of the Wendels and the fog. The mother lives beneath the earth and is therefore tied to the mother of the black earth, the underworld, Hell. While the mother protects the Wendels beneath the earth, feeds them and opens them to the secrets of earth, the fog, or Mistmare, directly engulfs them with xeno-excitations of war. Mist Mother, or Mistmare, gives birth to her children with a radical vision that facilitates their engulfment by war. This vision, or ocular wisdom, makes warriors or war machines blind at the same time. In addition, the fog gives the Wendels an infernal dynamism. They look as a dragon, a giant serpent, as they come through the fog, the defenders whisper in utter terror. The mother is the war sorceress of the earth's nether, and the fog is the war diviner of the surface. There is a bond between darkness as tenebrae, the darkness of Shadowland, the underworld, and the earth's Tellurian insurgencies, Hell, and darkness as air, the darkness of the mist, the interstellar dust, atmospheric pollution, the Mistmare. Both tenebrae and air creep towards one anti-vitalist becoming of the earth, the Tellurian omega through which the earth reaches utter immanence with the burning core of itself and the sun. Here in the Middle East, you can never be sure who is the god, the war machines which kick up so much billowing dust, or the fog out of which those war machines loom. Colonel West, Sermon 4, Arbil, Iraq. In McTiernan's movie, Beowulf and his warriors find a curious statuette, an idol left by the Wendels in the razed village, an artifact which frightens them even more than the fact that the dead bodies have been eaten. It is a swollen figurine with no head, legs, hands, but only two large breasts, evidently diagramming an old woman who has given birth to many children, a mother in the shape of a BWO, body without organs. In archaeology, such religious sculptures are technically called Venus and are not peculiar to specific regions. They commonly have no organs other than breasts. However, they sometimes have legs, hands, and swollen, faceless heads. One of the most ancient Venuses known, the Venus of Berakat Ram, was discovered by Dr. Naama Goren-Inbar in 1980. The sculpture is at least 230,000 years old. See figures 20 and 21 on the screen. In his only book, Defacing the Ancient Persia, 9,500 years call for destruction, Dr. Hamid Parsani remarks that motherhood is directly connected to the most mysterious depths of occultism and trisonomic sorcery. I do not look at monotheistic religions as Serat o al-Mostaqim, the straight path, nor do I curse them as ghouls of repression. I simply see them as generous mothers pregnant with their minorities, thousands, millions of them, a female scorpion devoured by its own children, ripped apart from the belly. This is what Ibn Mayum taught us, the minority holocaust. H. Parsani. This has nothing to do with nature, or the fact that nature is frequently represented as a mother. The functions of menstruation, pregnancy, carrying, bearing, and giving birth themselves originate from a deep occultism tied to sorceresses, non-breeder mothers, and xenomatriarchs, breeding hags. Following Parsani's remark, Motherhood interconnects with the profound anti-creationist Ahrimanic creativity, pestilential creativity, and minority engineering. In the Greek elementalist tradition, the mother is associated with Chaos, the oldest mother, the first mother who is the goddess of air, the Mistmare. As the first goddess of the protogenoi, elemental gods, Chaos was the mother or grandmother of the other incorporeal deities of the air, Nyx, night, Erebos, darkness, Aether, light, Hemera, day, and other daimones. Note: the window. I can't get it open. Note 2. Sorry for the delay. No, couldn't find the 10 pages I wrote in the Neo-Sumerian approach to collectivity. I keep forgetting things, so I have to write notes to myself, sometimes on paper, sometimes on Kleenex, and sometimes on Post-its. Yes, the connections between contagious love and the lines of openness are obvious. Was thinking that while our countries are getting ready to feast on each other's corpses, we are getting closer to each other. The distance between us is replaced by our distance or gap from the world we live in. Love generates distance not between lovers, but between the lovers and the environment that attempts to distance them. Such an abstract distance not only alienates the environment from the infected ones, but also eliminates the presence of the system as a solid or concrete entity for lovers. Behind lovers, there is nothing but a gap yawning and swallowing the world. We have already stared into the abyss of infection.